Katie Miller wiped the grease from her hands with a dirty rag. The night shift at the mining station was almost over. She looked at her watch. 3 more hours until sunrise on New Dakota. The heavy machines around her hummed quietly in the darkness. These big metal beasts dug deep into the ground all day. Looking for rare metals that Earth needed, she picked up her toolbox and started walking back to the main colony. The path was long and winding through the rocky hills. Katie had walked this route hundreds of times before. Tonight felt different, though. Something was wrong, but she could not say what. The normal sounds were missing. Usually she could hear the night birds calling to each other. The small animals that lived in the rocks would make scratching noises. The wind generators on the hill tops always made a soft whooshing sound. Tonight there was only silence. Katie stopped walking. She set down her toolbox and listened carefully. Nothing. Even the insects had stopped making noise. In her 5 years on New Dakota, she had never heard such complete quiet. She picked up her toolbox and walked faster. Her work boots made crunching sounds on the gravel path. The sounds seemed too loud in the empty night. Katie reached for the radio on her belt. She pressed the button to call the colony. "This is Caddy calling base. Anyone there?" She said into the radio. Static. Just empty static. "Base, this is Katie Miller. Please respond." She tried again. More static. Her heart started beating faster. Katie broke into a run. Her toolbox banged against her leg with each step. The colony was still 2 miles away. She could see the lights in the distance. They looked normal, but something felt very wrong. As she got closer, she noticed the lights were not moving. Usually there would be people walking around, security guards making their rounds, workers getting ready for the morning shift. The lights just sat there, still and empty. Katie slowed down as she reached the edge of the colony. She hid behind a storage building and looked around. The main street was empty. No people anywhere. But she could see that all the buildings still had power. The street lights were on. The shops had their signs glowing. She crept along the side of the building. Her military training from years ago came back to her. Move quietly. Stay in the shadows. Look before you move. At the corner, she peeked around the edge. What she saw made her blood run cold. Aliens, real aliens. Not the friendly ones from the trade ships that sometimes visited. These were different. They looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Their skin was dark and shiny like beetles. They had 4 arms and their heads were long and narrow. Sharp teeth showed when they opened their mouths. Katie counted 6 of them in the main street. They were dragging something. No, not something. Someone, people, her neighbors and friends were being pulled along the ground. Some were fighting. Others looked unconscious. She watched in horror as the aliens loaded people onto a large ship. The ship was dark and ugly. It looked nothing like the smooth human ships or the colorful trade vessels. This ship was built for one thing: taking people away. Katie wanted to run out and help, but there were too many aliens. They were bigger than humans and much stronger. She could see weapons on their belts. Fighting them would be suicide. She needed to get help. The colony had an emergency transmitter in the communications building. If she could reach it, she could send a distress signal to the nearest human base. Katie moved carefully from building to building. The communication center was 3 blocks away. She stayed low and quiet. Her heart was pounding so hard she was sure the aliens could hear it. Halfway there, she heard voices. Alien voices. They made clicking and hissing sounds when they talked. Katie hid behind a water tank and listened. She had learned some of their language during her time on the frontier. Pirates and raiders sometimes used it. "Check the outer buildings," one alien said. "Humans like to hide." "The ship is almost full," another replied. "We need to leave soon. A few more would be good." The slave markets pay well for humans. Katie felt sick. These aliens were slave traders. They had taken her friends and neighbors to sell them like animals. She waited until the voices moved away. Then she ran to the communications building. The door was locked, but she had the override code. All the maintenance workers did. Inside, the building was dark. Katie found the emergency transmitter and turned it on. The screen lit up with a soft Blue glow. She started typing the distress message. Mayday, Mayday, this is New Dakota Colony. We are under attack by alien raiders. They have taken most of our people. Send help immediately. She hit the send button. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Katie checked the power connections. Everything looked normal. She ran a diagnostic test. The transmitter was working fine, but no signal was going. She looked at the antenna display. The main antenna was offline. The aliens must have damaged it when they attacked. Katie heard footsteps outside. Heavy footsteps. Not human footsteps. She turned off the transmitter screen and hid under the control desk. The front door opened. Harsh alien voices filled the room. Someone was here recently, one of them said. The equipment is still warm. Search everywhere, another commanded. Katie held her breath. She could hear them moving around the room. Getting closer to her hiding spot, a long alien arm reached under the desk. Sharp claws grabbed her shirt and pulled her out. Katie found herself face to face with one of the creatures. Its yellow eyes looked at her with interest. A human female, it said in English. Young and healthy, this one will bring a good price. The other two aliens moved closer. Katie could smell them now. They smelled like old metal and something rotten. Please, Katie said, let me go. I have money. I can pay you. The aliens made a sound that might have been laughter. Humans always offer. Money? Your money is worthless to us. You are the valuable thing. One of them put metal restraints on her wrists. They were heavy and cold. Katie tested them, but they were locked tight. Take her to the ship, the leader said. We leave in 10 minutes. They dragged Katie outside. She could see the alien ship more clearly now. It was massive. Much bigger than it looked from a distance. People were being pushed up a ramp into the cargo area. She could see some of her friends among them. Where are you taking us? Katie asked. To the outer markets, one alien replied. Humans sell well there. Strong backs for the mines. Some for other purposes. Katie felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard stories about the slave markets. Humans who went there were never seen again. As they reached the ship, Katie looked back at the colony. Her home for 5 years? She had come here to escape her past. To forget the war and the things she had done as a soldier. Now that past might be the only thing that could save her. The aliens pushed her up the ramp. Inside the ship it was dark. And smelled terrible. She could hear crying and whispers from the other prisoners. The cargo hold was divided into small cells. Each one held 3 or 4 people, but Katie was not put with the others. The aliens took her to a smaller cell by herself. It was cleaner than the others, but still a prison. Special merchandise gets special treatment, one alien explained. The buyers pay more for undamaged goods. The cell door slammed shut. Katie was alone in the darkness, but she was not afraid, not anymore. She had been in worse places before, and she had learned something important during her military service. No human was ever truly alone. Somewhere out there, people were looking for her. People who would not give up. People who would come for her no matter how far she was taken. Katie sat down on the cold metal floor and started planning. She would survive. She would help the others survive. And when help came, she would be ready. The ship's engines started up. New Dakota fell away below them. But Katie Miller was not giving up. She was a fighter. And fighters never quit. The alien ship moved through space like a dark shadow. Katie had been in her cell for 2 days now. The small room had no windows. She could not see the stars or tell where they were going. The only light came from a dim strip on the ceiling. Her cell was different from the others. She could hear the other prisoners through the walls. They were packed together like animals, men, women, and children, all crying and whispering. Katie was alone. The aliens had put her in what they called their special holding area. 3 times a day, an alien guard brought her food. It was not human food. It tasted like metal and made her stomach hurt, but Katie ate it anyway. She needed to stay strong. She needed to survive. The guard was always the same one. He was smaller than the others, but still much bigger than Katie. His name was Vex. Katie had learned this by listening to the other aliens talk. Vex liked to watch her eat. He would stand outside her cell and stare at her with his yellow eyes. "You are different from the others," Vex said on the third day. He spoke English with a harsh accent. "The others cry and beg. You just sit there." Katie looked up at him. "Crying will not help me." "No, it will not," Vex agreed. "But it makes them easier to control. Fear makes humans weak." Katie did not answer. She had learned a long time ago that showing fear was dangerous. In the military, fear could get you killed. Fear could get your friends killed too. That afternoon, the ship's commander came to see her. Katie had heard the other aliens call him Thrakvos. He was bigger than the rest. Old scars covered his dark skin. One of his eyes was white and blind. He looked like someone who had been in many fights. "So you are the quiet one," Thrakvos said. He studied Katie like she was an interesting puzzle. "Vex tells me you do not act like the other humans." "I am not like the other humans," Katie replied. Thrakvos laughed. It was an ugly sound. "All humans say that. You think you are special, but you bleed just like the rest." He opened her cell door and stepped inside. Katie did not move. She stayed sitting on the floor and watched him. "I have been raiding human colonies for 20 years, Thrakvos continued. "I have taken thousands of your people. They all break in the end. Some break quickly, others take longer, but they all break." "Maybe you have not met the right humans," Katie said quietly. Thrakvos moved closer. "What makes you so confident?" "Little human, you are trapped on my ship. Your colony is destroyed. Your people are gone. What do you have left?" Katie looked up at him. "Hope," the alien commander hit her across the face. The blow was hard enough to knock her sideways. Katie tasted blood in her mouth, but she did not cry out. She did not beg. She just looked at him and smiled. "Hope," Thrakvos repeated. "Hope is what makes humans weak. Hope makes you believe in things that are not real. No one is coming to save you. No one even knows you." "Are gone?" Katie wiped the blood from her lip. "If you say so." This made Thrakvos angry. He grabbed Katie by the throat and lifted her off the ground. His grip was strong enough to crush her windpipe. Katie could not breathe. Spots appeared in front of her eyes. "Tell me about your military bases," Thrakvos demanded. "How many ships do humans have in this sector? What are their patrol routes?" Katie could not speak. She could barely think. The alien was choking the life out of her. "Tell me." Thrakvos shouted. Katie managed to whisper one word: "No." Thrakvos threw her against the wall. Katie hit hard and fell to the floor. Pain shot through her ribs. She might have broken something, but she was still alive. "I will break you," Thrakvos promised. "It may take time, but I will break you." He left the cell. Katie lay on the floor for a long time. Her ribs hurt with every breath. Her throat felt like it was on fire. But she was not broken. She would not break. That night, Katie did something she had not done in years. She activated her military-cum implant. It was a small device that had been surgically placed behind her left ear when she joined the Colonial Marines. She had never had it removed when she left the service. The implant was designed to be undetectable. It looked like scar tissue to most scanners. It had its own power source that would last for decades, but it only worked over very short distances. Unless there was a military ship nearby, it was useless. Katie pressed her hand against the side of her head. She found the small bump under her skin. She pressed it in a specific pattern. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. The old military distress code. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Katie was not surprised. They were probably too far from any human ships, but she would keep trying. Every few hours she would send out the signal. Just in case. The next day, Vex brought her food as usual. But this time he stayed longer. He seemed curious about something. "The commander says you used to be a soldier," Vex said. Katie looked at him. "Did he? He can tell? The way you move? The way you watch everything? The way you do not show fear?" Vex paused. "I was a soldier too, before I joined this crew." "What happened to your army?" "We lost a war. My planet was conquered. I had to find a new way to live. Vex looked sad for a moment. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. Katie ate her food slowly. She was learning about her captors. Information was a weapon. The more she knew, the better her chances of survival. Why did you become a pirate? She asked. Pirates eat better than soldiers, Vex replied, and they live longer. Do they? Vex was quiet for a while. What kind of soldier were you? Katie thought about whether to answer. Finally, she said, the kind that came home. That afternoon, the ship's engines changed their sound. They were slowing down. Katie could feel the vibration through the walls. They were getting close to their destination. Thrakvos came to see her again. This time he brought 2 other aliens. With him, they all looked excited. We arrive at the outpost in 6 hours, Thrakvos announced. You will be processed with the other slaves. If you cooperate, things will go easier for you. And if I do not cooperate? Katie asked. Then things will go harder, much harder. Katie nodded. I understand. Good. Perhaps you are finally learning. Thrakvos turned to leave, then stopped. There is something I want you to know. Your colony was not chosen randomly. We had been watching New Dakota for months. We knew exactly how many people lived there. We knew about your defenses. We knew about your communications. Katie felt cold. Someone gave you information. Someone who wanted to get rich selling his own people. Thrakvos smiled. Humans are so easy to buy. A little money and they will betray anyone? After they left, Katie sat in the darkness and thought. A traitor. Someone from the colony had helped the aliens. That was why the attack had been so successful. That was why no one had been able to send a warning, but it did not matter now. What mattered was survival. Katie pressed her hand against her cum implant again. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short dot this time. Something happened. The implant gave a tiny vibration against her skull. So small she almost missed it, but it was there. Someone had heard her signal. Someone was out there. Katie smiled in the darkness. She had told Thrakvos that she had hope. Now she knew that hope was not foolish. Help was coming. She did not know when or how, but it was coming. The alien commander had made a mistake. He thought humans were weak because they hoped. But hope was not weakness. Hope was strength. Hope was what kept humans fighting when everything seemed lost. Katie settled back against the wall. Soon they would reach the alien outpost. Soon she would face whatever came next. But she would not face it alone. Somewhere in the darkness of space, other humans were coming for her. The hunt was about to begin. And the aliens had no idea what was coming for them. The alien ship shuddered as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Katie felt the change in her bones. After 3 days in space, they had finally reached their destination. Through the walls, she could hear the other prisoners crying louder. They knew their journey was almost over. Katie pressed her hand against her cum implant again. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. She had been sending the signal every few hours. Most of the time, nothing happened. But twice more she had felt that tiny vibration. Someone was definitely out there. The ship's engines changed to a low rumble. They were moving slowly now, probably approaching the alien outpost. Katie tried to imagine what it looked like. She had never seen an alien base before. It was probably ugly and dark like their ship. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside her cell. Multiple sets of footsteps. Katie sat up and listened. The aliens were getting ready for something. She could hear them talking in their clicking language. The door to her cell opened. Vex stood there with 2 other guards. They all carried weapons now. Electric prods that would hurt but not kill. Time to go, Vex said. He almost looked sorry. The commander wants all prisoners ready for transfer. Katie stood up slowly. Her ribs still hurt from where Thrakvos had thrown her against the wall. But she could move. She could fight if she had to. Where are we going? She asked. To the processing center, Vex replied. They will decide what to do with you there. The guards put metal restraints on her wrists and ankles. The chains were short. She could walk but not run. They led her out of the cell and down a long corridor. Katie saw the other prisoners for the first time in 3 days. They looked terrible, dirty and scared and broken. Some of them were people she had worked with. Others were neighbors she had known for years. All of them avoided her eyes, but Katie was different. She walked straight and tall. She looked around and memorized everything: the layout of the ship, the number of guards, the locations of weapons. Her military training was taking over. They reached a large cargo bay. Through the open doors, Katie could see the alien outpost. It was built into a huge asteroid. The rock had been carved out and filled with metal structures. Ships of all sizes floated around it like flies around rotten meat. Impressive, is it not? Thrakvos appeared beside her. This outpost has been here for over 100 years. It is one of the largest slave markets in this part of the galaxy. Katie looked at the base. It was bigger than any human space station she had ever seen. Hundreds of ships were docked there. Most of them looked like pirate vessels, dark and ugly and built for war. "How many people have you brought here?" Katie asked. "Thousands," Thrakvos replied proudly. "Humans are popular in the slave markets. You are strong but not too strong, smart but not too smart. Perfect for hard labor." Katie felt sick. All those people, all those lives destroyed? And for what? Money? "Do not look so sad," Thrakvos continued. "You will have a new purpose." New life. Some humans even learn to like it." "I doubt that," Katie said. The ship docked with a loud clang. Katie could feel the vibration through the floor. They were connected to the alien base now. Soon they would be taken off the ship and sold like animals, but Katie was not afraid. Her implant had vibrated 3 more times in the last hour. The signal was getting stronger. Whatever was coming for her was getting closer. Thrakvos began shouting orders. The guards started moving the prisoners toward the docking port. Katie was pushed along with the crowd. But she was watching everything. Learning everything, the docking port led to a wide tunnel carved into the asteroid. The walls were rough, stone covered with metal plates. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. The air smelled like oil and sweat and fear. They walked for what felt like miles. The tunnel split into many smaller passages. Katie tried to remember the route. If she got a chance to escape, she would need to know the way out. Finally, they reached a huge chamber. It was filled with cages, hundreds of cages. And in those cages were people, humans, but also other species Katie did not recognize. All of them were prisoners. All of them were for sale. "Welcome to the processing center," Thrakvos announced. "Here you will be cleaned, examined, and prepared for auction." The buyers liked their merchandise to look good. Katie and the other prisoners from New Dakota were pushed into a group of empty cages. The metal bars were thick and strong. The locks looked impossible to break, but Katie was not looking at the locks. She was looking at the guards, studying their weapons, counting their numbers, learning their patterns. A new alien approached their group. This one was different from the others. Taller and thinner, his skin was pale gray instead of dark. He wore expensive clothes and carried a small computer device. "I am Merchant Cree," the alien announced. "I will be handling your sale. First, you will be processed. Then you will be displayed for the buyers. The auction begins tomorrow." Katie felt her implant vibrate again. Stronger this time, much stronger. She almost gasped out loud. Whatever was coming was very close now. She looked around the chamber. There had to be over 1,000 prisoners here. All different species. All waiting to be sold. The alien slavers had been doing this for a long time, but they had made one mistake. They thought humans were just another species to be bought and sold. They did not understand what humans really were. Katie had learned something important during her time in the colonial marines. Humans were not just individuals. They were part of something bigger. When you hurt one human, you hurt all of them. When you captured one human, all of them felt it, and humans never forgot. They never forgave. They never stopped looking for their own people. Katie pressed her hand against her implant one more time. The vibration was so strong now that it almost hurt. Close, very close. Suddenly alarms began ringing throughout the base. Red lights flashed on the walls. The guards started running around and shouting in their alien language. "What is happening?" Merchant Cree demanded. One of the guards ran up to him. "Ships approaching the base, unidentified ships?" "They are not responding to our signals." Thrakvos pushed through the crowd. "How many ships?" "3, maybe 4. They appeared out of nowhere." Katie smiled. She knew what was happening. The cavalry had arrived. The aliens were panicking now. They had never seen human military ships before. They did not know what they were dealing with. "Lock down the base," Thrakvos ordered. "Prepare the defense systems and get those prisoners secured." But Katie was not worried about being secured. She was thinking about something else. Her old unit had a saying. When the bloodhounds came for you, you were already dead. You just did not know it yet. The guards rushed around trying to secure the prison chamber, but they were scared now. Katie could see it in their eyes. They had spent so long being the hunters that they had forgotten what it felt like to be the hunted. Katie looked at the other prisoners from New Dakota. They were still scared and confused. They did not understand what was happening. "Listen to me," Katie whispered to them. "Help is coming. When I give the signal, be ready to fight. We are going home." One of her neighbors, an old man named Pete, looked at her with hope. "Are you sure?" "I am sure," Katie replied. "Trust me." The alarms kept ringing. The lights kept flashing. And Katie's implant kept vibrating. Somewhere above them, human ships were approaching the alien base. Ships full of trained soldiers who had come to bring their people home. Katie had told Thrakvos that she had hope. Now that hope was about to become reality. The aliens were about to learn something important about humans. They were about to learn that humans never traveled alone. Even when they seemed to be by themselves, they were part of something bigger. They were part of the pack. And the pack was coming. The alarm screamed louder. The red lights flashed faster. All around the prison chamber, alien guards ran back and forth like scared insects. Katie watched them from her cage and smiled. She had seen this before. This was what panic looked like. "Attention. All units," a voice boomed over the base speakers. "We are under attack. Old defensive positions manned immediately." "This is not a drill." Thrakvos grabbed a guard by the arm. "What do the sensors show?" 3 human ships, Commander. They are fast, very fast. And they are not responding to any communications. "Fire warning shots," Thrakvos ordered. "Make them go away." The guard looked nervous. "We tried, Commander." "They destroyed our warning shots before they reached their ships." Katie felt her heart jump with pride. Those were human military ships out there. Real warships with real weapons and real soldiers. Her people had come for her. Through the stone walls of the asteroid, she could feel vibrations. The base's weapons were firing, big guns that could destroy smaller ships. But the vibrations felt wrong. The guns were firing but not hitting anything. Merchant Cree ran up to Thrakvos. "What is happening? Who is attacking us?" "Human military," Thrakvos replied. "Somehow they found us." "That is impossible. This base is secret. Humans do not know about it." Katie laughed out loud. Both aliens turned to look at her. "Something funny, human?" Thrakvos demanded. "You really do not understand us, do you?" Katie said. "You think because you hide in an asteroid, humans cannot find you. You think because this place is secret, we will give up looking." "Shut up." Thrakvos snarled. "Humans do not give up," Katie continued. "Ever. When you take one of us, all of us feel it. When you hurt one of us, all of us remember. We will follow you across the galaxy if we have to." The base shook. "Not from their own weapons this time. Something had hit the asteroid, something big." "Hull breach in Section 7, the speakers announced. "All security teams to Section 7. Katie's implant was vibrating constantly now. So hard that her head hurt. But it was a good hurt. It meant her people were very close. Suddenly the vibrations stopped. The shooting stopped. The base became quiet except for the alarms. "Status report?" Thrakvos called into his radio. "Static." Then a weak voice replied. "Sir, they are inside." "The base? The humans are inside?" Thrakvos turned pale. How many? We do not know, sir. They move too fast. They have some kind of armor. Our weapons barely hurt them. Katie knew what that meant. Power armor. The colonial marines used it for boarding actions. Soldiers in power armor were like walking tanks. They could punch through walls and shrug off most weapons. Fall back to the central chamber, Thrakvos ordered. Protect the merchandise. But Katie could hear the fear in his voice. The alien commander was starting to understand what he was facing. The other prisoners were getting excited now. They could hear the fighting getting closer. Explosions echoed through the tunnels. The sound of human weapons mixed with alien screams. Katie, Pete whispered from the next cage. Is that really our people out there? That is really them, Katie replied. And they are very angry. More explosions. Closer. Now. The stone walls shook with each blast. Pieces of rock fell from the ceiling. Some of the alien guards were running away. Others tried to set up defensive positions around the prison chamber. Katie examined her cage more carefully. The lock was electronic. If the power went out, it might open automatically. She needed to be ready. Through her cum implant, she heard something that made her heart soar, a voice she recognized. A voice she had not heard in years. Bloodhound leader to all. Units. Prisoners located in Central Chamber. Begin rescue operation. Colonel Jake Morrison. Her old commanding officer. He had come for her personally. Katie pressed her hand against her implant and whispered, Bloodhound leader, this is Ghost. I am in the Central Prison Chamber. Multiple friendlies present. Estimate 50 aliens defending. The response came immediately. Ghost, this is Bloodhound leader. Good to hear your voice. Stay down. We are coming to get you. Ghost, her old call sign. Katie had not used it in 5 years. But hearing it again felt like coming home. The fighting was very close now. Katie could hear human voices shouting tactical commands. She could hear the distinctive sound of colonial marine weapons. Rapid-fire plasma rifles that could cut through metal like paper. There in the outer tunnels, a guard reported to Thrakvos. Maybe 20 soldiers, all in power armor. 20? Thrakvos looked confused. Only 20 humans against our entire base? Katie laughed again. 20 colonial marines is all they need. You have no idea what you are facing. The alien commander pointed his weapon at her. Shut up or I will kill you right now. Go ahead, Katie said calmly, but it will not stop them. Nothing will stop them now. The entrance to the chamber exploded. Inward, rock and metal flew everywhere. Through the smoke and dust, shapes moved. Big shapes in dark armor. The aliens opened fire immediately. Energy weapons and projectile guns filled the air with deadly beams and bullets, but the human soldiers kept coming. Their armor absorbed the damage like it was nothing. Katie saw the first Marine clearly as he stepped into the chamber. The power armor made him look like a giant robot. His helmet visor glowed with targeting systems. His weapon was bigger than most alien soldiers. Colonial Marines, he announced in a voice amplified by his armor speakers. Surrender now and you will not be harmed. The aliens did not surrender. They kept shooting. The Marines spread out around the chamber with military precision. They moved like they had done this 1,000 times before. Each soldier knew exactly where to go and what to do. Katie watched Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez take position near her cage. Even in full armor, Katie recognized her old friend's fighting style. Smooth and deadly and completely fearless, the battle was over in minutes. The aliens were tough fighters, but they were not soldiers. They were pirates and slavers. The Marines were professional warriors trained for exactly this kind of fight. When the shooting stopped, the chamber was full of smoke. Most of the alien guards were dead or unconscious. The few survivors had their hands up in surrender. Colonel Morrison walked over to Katie's cage. He removed his helmet, revealing a face she remembered well. Older now, with more gray in his hair. But the same steady eyes. Hello, Ghost, he said with a smile. Miss me? You took your time getting here, Katie replied. Morrison laughed. Traffic was terrible. He looked at her cage lock. Rodriguez, get her out of there. Sergeant Rodriguez came over with a small device. She attached it to the electronic lock. There was a brief spark, then the cage door swung open. Katie stepped out and stretched. Her legs were stiff from sitting in the cage, but she was free, finally free. "How did you find me?" she asked. "We have been tracking this slaver ring for months," Morrison explained. "When they hit New Dakota, we knew you were probably taken." "Your implant signal confirmed it." Katie looked around the chamber. The other prisoners were being freed by more Marines. Medical teams were already treating the injured. Everything was organized and efficient. "What about the rest of the base?" Katie asked. "Secured," Morrison replied. "We took the command center first. Then the docking bays. This was the last objective." Katie felt a deep satisfaction. The aliens who had terrorized so many people were finished. Their slave trading operation was destroyed. Justice had finally come to this dark place, but she also felt something else. Pride in her people. Pride in the Marines who had risked everything to save her and the other prisoners. The humans had shown the galaxy something important today. They had shown that taking human prisoners was the last mistake any alien would ever make. Katie stood in the command center of the alien base and watched the Marines work. They moved with quiet efficiency, securing computer files and gathering evidence. Every slaver operation the aliens had run was being documented. Every crime was being recorded. Colonel Morrison stood beside her, reading reports on his portable screen. "We found records going back 50 years, he said. "This base has processed over 500,000 slaves from dozens of different species." Katie felt sick. 500,000 people, families torn apart, lives destroyed, all for profit. What happens to the survivors? She asked. "We take them home," Morrison replied. "All of them. Every species. We have contacted their governments. Ships are already on the way." Katie looked through the command center windows at the docking bays below. Human medical ships were arriving to treat the rescued prisoners. The doctors worked on aliens and humans alike. It did not matter what species they were. Everyone got help. "The people from New Dakota are asking about you," Morrison continued. "They want to thank you." "Thank me for what?" "For keeping them alive. For giving them hope. Pete told me you organized them. Help them stay strong." Katie thought about the old man and the others. They had been so scared and broken when they arrived. But they had survived. They were going home. Anyone would have done the same thing, Katie said. Morrison smiled. "No, Ghost, not anyone. That takes special training. Special character. You never stopped being a Marine." Across the command center, Sergeant Rodriguez was interrogating Thrakvos. The alien commander sat in restraints, his head hanging low. He looked very different now, not scary anymore, just defeated. "He wants to make a deal," Rodriguez reported. "Information about other slaver bases in exchange for leniency." Morrison walked over to the alien. "You have information we want?" Thrakvos looked up with his one good eye. "I know where the other bases are. I know their security codes. I know their schedules, and in return, a quick death instead of a slow one." Morrison was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You will give us everything, every base, every contact, every operation. And maybe, if you cooperate fully, you will spend the rest of your life in prison instead of being executed." Thrakvos nodded eagerly. Yes, I will tell you everything." Katie watched the broken alien commander. A few days ago, he had seemed so powerful, so dangerous. Now he was just a scared old criminal begging for his life. "What about Vex?" Katie asked Rodriguez. "The guard who brought me food." "Dead," Rodriguez replied. "He fought to the end. Tried to protect some of the other guards." Katie felt a strange sadness. Vex had been kind to her in his own way. He had made bad choices, but he was not evil like Thrakvos. War was complicated. Good people sometimes ended up on the wrong side. 3 hours later, the base was completely secured. Every alien slaver was either dead or captured. Every computer file was copied. Every weapon was collected. The Marines had done their job perfectly. Katie stood on the observation deck of the human command ship UHS Retribution. Through the thick windows, she could see the alien base. It looked smaller now, less threatening. Just a hollowed-out rock. Floating in space. Colonel Morrison joined her at the window. "The demolition team is ready," he said. "We will destroy the base in 1 hour." "Good," Katie replied. "No one should ever be sold here again. The other governments are grateful." Morrison continued. "The Centauri Republic is sending a medal for you. The vegan colonies want to name a space station after you." Katie shook her head. "I did not do anything special. I just survived." "You did more than survive, Ghost. You gave everyone hope. You showed the aliens that humans do not break easily. That matters." Through the ship's communication system, a voice announced, "All ships, prepare for base destruction. Clear the area." Katie watched as the human ships moved away from the asteroid. In the distance, she could see the medical ships carrying the rescued prisoners to safety. People from dozens of worlds were going home because of what happened here today. "How did you really find me so fast?" Katie asked. Morrison smiled. "We never stopped looking. When New Dakota went silent, we knew something was wrong. We had 3 ships in the area within 6 hours. But how did you know where the slavers took us?" "We have been hunting these particular aliens for 2 years. We know their patterns, their routes, their hiding places." Morrison paused. "We would have found you eventually." "Your implant signal just made it faster," Katie thought about that. Even if her implant had failed, the Marines would have kept looking. They would never have given up. That was what humans did. They took care of their own. "Demolition charges armed," the voice announced. "Detonation in 30 seconds. Katie and Morrison watched as the countdown reached 0. The asteroid base disappeared in a brilliant flash of light. For a moment, the explosion lit up space like a new star. Then it faded, leaving only empty darkness. "That is the end of the biggest slave market in this sector," Morrison said with satisfaction. "Will there be others?" Katie asked. "Probably. But they will think twice before taking humans. Word travels fast in the criminal underworld. Everyone will know what happened here." Katie smiled. That was the real victory. Not just rescuing the prisoners, not just destroying the base, but sending a message to every alien criminal in the galaxy. Humans were not easy prey. Humans fought back. And humans never forgot. Over the next few days, Katie helped with the rescued prisoners. She translated for those who spoke alien languages. She comforted those who were scared. She shared her food with those who were weak. The medical ships took everyone to safety. The people from New Dakota went back to rebuild their colony. Other species went to their homeworlds. Some had been prisoners for years, some for decades. But they were all free now. On the last day, Katie stood in the shuttle bay preparing to leave. She was going back to civilian life, back to fixing machines and living quietly. But she knew she would never be the same. Pete approached her as she waited for her transport. The old man looked much better now. Clean clothes, good food, medical treatment, but most importantly, hope in his eyes. "Katie," he said, "I wanted to thank you for everything you did, for keeping us strong." "We kept each other strong," Katie replied. "That is what humans do." Pete nodded. "What will you do now?" Katie thought about that. "Maybe I will stay in the Colonial Marines. Maybe I will work with colonies to make them safer. I have not decided yet." "Whatever you do," Pete said, "remember that you saved us all." After Pete left, Colonel Morrison came to see her off. "Last chance to re-enlist?" he said with a grin. "The Bloodhounds could use someone with your skills." Katie looked around the shuttle bay, at the Marines going about their duties, at the ships that brought justice to a dark corner of space, at the people who never gave up on their own. "Maybe," she said. "Ask me again in a few months." Morrison laughed. "I will." As Katie's shuttle departed for human space, she looked back at the fleet one more time. These ships and the people in them represented something important. They represented the promise that no human would ever be abandoned, that no human would ever be forgotten. The aliens had made a simple mistake. They thought humans were just another species to be hunted and captured. They did not understand that humans were part of something bigger. A family that stretched across the stars, and families always came for their own. Katie smiled as the stars streamed past her window. She was going home. But more importantly, she was carrying a message with her. A message for anyone who might threaten humans in the future. We are humanity. We stand together, we fight together, we leave no one behind. Remember this: